Remember your first day of school, the classroom, the teacher, the smell, the crippling realization that you would be spending the next 12 years asking permission to use the bathroom. Pretty vivid, right? Cool. There's a decent chance parts of it never happened. Not because you're lying. Not because you're stupid, because your brain is basically running the world's most successful misinformation campaign against itself. And the worst part, you can't tell which memories are fake. Welcome to memory. Most people think memory works like a camera. Something happens. Your brain records it. Then later you hit play. Easy. Unfortunately, your brain looked at this perfectly reasonable system and said, absolutely not. Instead of storing entire events, your brain stores fragments, bits and pieces, some images, some sounds, some emotions, the general vibe. Then, whenever you remember something, your brain grabs those pieces and rebuilds the memory, like a Lego set, except half the instructions are missing, and your brain is extremely confident despite never reading them. Psychologists call memory reconstructive, meaning you're not replaying the past, you're rebuilding it days ago, not last Tuesday, 3 Tuesdays ago. Your brain immediately starts sweating. It doesn't know. Nobody knows. So it starts making educated guesses. Probably something normal. Maybe rice. There was definitely a plate involved. Your memory works surprisingly similarly. It fills gaps. Not because it's broken, because that's literally its job. And most of the time, this works great. You don't need a perfect recording of every second of your life. You just need enough information to survive. The problem is that your brain values usefulness over accuracy, which occasionally leads to problems, for example, false memories. And false memories are exactly as terrifying as they sound. Let's play a game. I want you to read these words. Wait, no, I lied. Sleep wasn't actually on the list, but a shocking number of people remember seeing it anyway. Because all the other words point towards sleep, your brain notices the pattern, then later confidently reports, yep, saw sleep. No, you didn't. Your brain just forged the paperwork. This happens constantly. You hear a story enough times, you start remembering it. Someone describes an event differently, your memory changes. A family member says, remember when you cried at the zoo, and eventually you start remembering crying at the zoo, even if the original event was just you standing near a disappointed looking giraffe. The really weird part, false memories don't feel fake. They feel exactly like real memories. Scientists have found that true memories and false memories can feel almost identical from the inside, which makes sense. Imagine if fake memories came with a giant warning label. Attention, this event never occurred. That would be helpful. Unfortunately, evolution never added that feature, and memories get rewritten every time you remember them. That's right. Every single time. Imagine opening a Word document, changing a few sentences, then saving over the original again and again and again. Eventually, you're not reading the original document anymore, you're reading version 37, the director's cut, extended edition, featuring scenes that were never filmed. Now, before you panic, this doesn't mean all your memories are fake. It just means they're less reliable than they feel, which are very different things. Most memories contain a lot of truth. The problem is that they also contain edits, tiny edits, small adjustments, details filled in after the fact, reasonable assumptions that slowly become facts. Actually, this explains a lot. Have you ever argued with someone about something that happened and both of you were absolutely convinced you were right? That's because you're not comparing recordings, you're comparing reconstructions. Two historians examining the same event, except both historians are sleep deprived, emotionally biased, and occasionally complete idiots. But here's the cool part. This isn't a flaw. It's a trade-off. A perfect memory system would be incredibly inefficient. Your brain isn't trying to preserve history. It's trying to keep an ape alive on a floating rock in space. And for that purpose, a flexible memory system is surprisingly useful, even if it occasionally invents details. So next time you're absolutely certain about a childhood memory, maybe leave a tiny bit of room for doubt. Not because you're wrong, but because the version you're remembering might not be the original. It might just be the latest update. Anyway, if you'll excuse me, I need to figure out whether my childhood memory of fighting a shark is real, because statistically speaking, it's not looking great.